Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we are going to talk about agriculture microbiology. So let's get started. So in the previous video I covered about kingdom fungi. So in this video we'll start off with kingdom protista. So moving on to this, so let's just get the overview of what is kingdom protista and what are the organisms that it contains. So protistas are single-celled eukaryotes which are primarily aquatic in nature, and they may include chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. Also, these protists reproduce asexually as well as sexually by a process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. So these are some terms that you need to remember while studying about each of the kingdoms. So their reproduction system, there's some of the examples and what are they, whether they're single celled or double cells. So talking about some of the examples of kingdom protista, we talked about chrysophytes and dinoflagellates. So chrysophytes includes diatoms, which are cell walls are embedded with silica. So in chrysophytes, the cell wall is embedded with silica. And talked about dinoflagellates. These are mostly marine and photosynthetic. Also, they appear yellow, green, brown, blue, or red, depending on the pigment present in their cells. So these two were common examples of protista. So let's see what we have more. So talking about some of the dinoflagellates, some of the examples of dinoflagellates would be goniolics. So this is a picture of the goniolics which comes under dinoflagellates. So another type of protista is euglenoids. So euglenoids are fresh water organisms which are found in stagnant water. Also, instead of a cell wall, these have a protein rich layer called the pellicle, which makes their body very much flexible. Also, they are autotrophic in nature and they can be heterotrophic as well. And some of the examples of euglenoids are euglena. Alright, so this is a picture of euglena as well. So this was euglenoid. So next is slime molds or fungus-like protists. So these are saprophytes protists, and these form an aggregation called the plasmodium, which may grow and spread over several fields. Alright, so these produce plasmodium, which helps to which makes them motile. So moving on with talking about the kingdom protista in advance or in detail. So protozoans are heterotrophic and these live as predators or parasites. And there are majorly four groups of protozoans. So some of the top four groups of protozoans would be amoeboid protozoans. The example of amoeboid protozoans is amoeba. Next we have flagellated protozoans, which is trypanosoma. Next we have ciliated protozoa such as paramecium. Sporozoans such as plasmodium, all which are known as malarial parasite as well. So plasmodium, if you might have studied in your junior classes that plasmodium are the malarial parasites. So these are four pictures of the four different types of protozoans. So amoeboid, flagellated, ciliated, and sporozoans. So next up we'll talk about viruses, which also counts in as protists. So which also come under the kingdom of protist. So viruses are non-cellular organisms and these are not truly living. So these come under non-living beings. So these come under non-living, these do not have any existence. Also, these viruses are non-cellular organisms and they replicate themselves inside host using host cell machinery. So they only become living when they are inside a host, so that all of the host cell machinery comes in action and they can replicate in themselves. Also, these viruses contain genetic material which can be DNA or RNA, and the head group is nucleoprotein, and also bacteriophages, which the viruses that infect the bacteria. So the viruses that infect the bacteria are known as bacteriophages. This is a prime example of a bacteriophage, as you can see on the screen, are usually double-stranded DNA viruses. Alright, so bacteriophages are double-stranded DNA viruses, and this is a typical picture of a tobacco mosaic virus. So with this, so talking about more about virus and its nature and some of its structures as well. So capsid is a protein coat which surrounds the nucleic acid and which is made up of subunits, capsomeres, arranged in helical or polyhedral geometric forms. So this capsid is a layer that surrounds the entire everything. So as you can see in this picture of adenovirus as well as in influenza virus. And some of the viral diseases, as you can see on the screens, such as for animals it would be HIV, mumps, smallpox, herpes and influenza. And for plants it would be leaf rolling, curling, yellowing and vein clearing, dwarfing and started growths. Another form of viruses would be viroids. So viroids are something which are even smaller than viruses. So they have a free RNA and they lack protein coat in themselves. Also, the infectious agent that was smaller than viruses caused potato spindle tuber disease. So viroids are some organisms which are responsible in causing potato spindle tuber diseases. And these do not have any sort of genetic material and do not have any sort of protein coat as well, as was in the case for viruses which had capsid as a protein coat. So talking about some more types of protozoans which comes under Kingdom Protists. So next we have is algae. So we'll talk about algae. So algae are eukaryotic chlorophyll containing organisms. So these contain chlorophyll, so they are autotrophic in nature. Also these can be photosynthetic or autotrophic thalloid aquatic organisms. And the life cycle of plants has two distinct phases which can be diploid sporophytic and haploid gametophytic. So this is a point that you might remember about algae. So these have two distinct phases of life cycle in them, which is diploid sporophytic and the other is haploid gametophytic. Also some of the examples under algae is Chlamydomonas, which form flagellated motile gametes, and Spirogyra, which form non-flagellated gametes. So these are the examples of the two. So this is one more example, and let's just talk about some of the reproduction methods which you might need to remember. So some of the asexual modes of reproduction would be formation of spores, which can be mainly zoospores, and another asexual method would be vegetative fragmentation. So vegetative forms would be fragmentation and asexual. So in the asexual we have two types of, which is spores and vegetation. Also talking about the second type, which is sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction mainly takes place through fusion of gametes. Also there are types of gametes. So isogamous is a type of gamete which has same size gametes. Next we have anisogamous, which is dissimilar size gametes, and last one is oogamous, which is large non-motile gametes. Alright, so these are three types of gametes that takes place in the sexual reproduction of algae. So with this, so talking about some of the types of algae that we have or that exist. So the algae are divided mainly into three classes, which can be green algae, brown algae and red algae. So under green algae, which are also known as chlorophyceae, which contain chlorophyll A, B and pyrenoids as storage bodies. So these have pyrenoids as storage bodies and contain chlorophyll A and B. Some of the examples of green algae are ulva. So this is a picture of ulva. So this is a picture of green algae. Next we have brown algae or phaeophyceae. So these contain chlorophyll A and C. Also they have carotenoids and xanthophylls, also hydrocolloids are known as algins. So these have a lot of things that contain all of these things, which is the brown algae. So brown algae, some of the examples are microcytis. So this is a prime example of these, some of the pictures as you can see. And last one, this is the red algae. So red algae contains the red pigment, also has phycoerythrin and also hydrocolloids known as carrageen. So some of the examples of red algae is microcladia or rhodophyceae, we known as red algae. So these are three prime classification of algae types, which is green, brown and red algae, and these are some of the features that it contains. So you mainly just need to remember the chlorophyll types that it contains, which are different for all. And red algae contains all the red pigment and phycoerythrin and hydrocolloids, which in turn all of them are known as carrageen, and for brown algae it is known as algin. So these are some of the important types for algae. So coming to the last part, which is the division of algae. So I made a table for you all, so you can just get it right all of the way. So this is the division for all the green, brown and red algae and all of the major pigments that it contains, as you can see. So it has chlorophyll A, B, it has AC and it has AD. and also the stored foods. So where can you find all of these algae as well? So starch, mannitol, Floridian starch. So all of these stored foods may contain all of these algae, may may promote the growth of these types of algae. Also, there are different types of cell wall, as you can see, cellulose, these type of cellular layer that covers them, and also the flagellar number and position of insertions, and their habitat where they grow at their utmost. So these are mainly fresh water, which is common for all, which is very much favorable for the growth. So this was a part of classification. You may pause the video here and just check out all of the things here under the topics. So let's just keep this video till here. I'll be back with another video very soon. So stay tuned and thank you for watching this video.